Hi, everybody. This is Megan,
And this is Steven.
and this is the Synchrony Podcast, where we talk about transforming apostolic dating culture and ending loneliness in the church. And your cheeks totally full of coffee right when I looked at you.
It's all good.
While we're here, shout out to our amazing partners at Cafe 117, who are sustaining us by providing us with our caffeine lifeblood these days. So thank you guys. If you don't know about them yet, Cafe 117 is an amazing apostolic owned coffee company. They roast premium blends and also single origin coffees, and they will ship it right to you. You can subscribe. It is delicious. It is efficient. It is the only thing keeping us sane these days. So check out Cafe 117. 20% of their proceeds goes to Compassion Services International to help with disaster relief, which is a cause we can all get behind. And if you look at the link in our bio, there is a discount for you.
Yep. And also, we learned on accident that they do whole bean as well.
Yeah, well, I usually order ground, but I ordered whole bean.
No.
So now I'm having to grind our coffee manually because we don't have an electric grinder.
Yep.
And it's a nice little, few minute arm workout in the morning.
And it's not, obviously, having whole bean is a fantastic option. It's just we've always ordered it ground. And so it's kind of funny when Megan's like, oops, I actually ordered whole bean.
Yeah, we are not coffee snobs, but supposedly it's better whole bean because if it degrades after you grind it. So the
Sounds good.
yeah, it's I don't know that
It tastes fantastic and
tastes
gives me life.
fantastic. Right. Especially tonight. It's been a long, crazy week.
It has.
Yeah. We went from
Hence, this is why I have not had time to shave. I'm sorry, y'all.
yeah, if anyone is really offended by facial hair, we apologize.
The last 3 days, I have worked 42 hours of work.
Yeah, Steven has been wrapping up his beekeeping career temporarily, so that he can come home. We talked about that in our last episode.
My last day was yesterday.
Yay, congratulations.
I know.
But you capped it off. You went out with a bang because you had a 3-day event to run.
Yep.
And help teach.
Not run.
But help teach at and organize. By run, I mean like you had to, drive a truck full of bees, which is more common than you would expect, up to a different part of the state and teach classes and bring them back.
We had a blast. I'm going to miss that crew of people.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Good times, though. So now, and you did that. We've been sick last week and into this week with the kids. So it's just been kind of a hectic one. But I'm excited to sit down and chat and talk about what we're going to talk about.
So what are we talking about, babe? Because I, quite frankly, don't remember.
You're like, I just show up. I don't know. We're talking about confidence.
Ooh.
Yeah. We talked about this before. This is not a surprise to Steven. We did.
Babe, you're ruining the skit. Come on.
Yeah, no, it's not a bit. We did have this conversation in the car several hours ago. Behind the scenes at Synchrony. So we're talking about confidence. And this was actually inspired by a community member of ours, longtime listener and participant in the program, who sent something in response to, I think, an Instagram post or a story where they just said that they've been really praying about their confidence and the Lord just helping them build their confidence. And it made me think about how much confidence or a lack thereof can like impact people's dating experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And, I wish we could snap our fingers and just like build people's confidence immediately, right? This is not that. We can't just transform anyone's self-image. But I wanted to kind of, as I was thinking about this, I thought of like maybe we could reframe it a little bit in a way that would be helpful.
Okay.
I have a question to start off.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
This is not scripted.
This is one of those I put Steven on the spot with an awkward questions. I'm going to give you 3 tasks. Okay. All relatively challenging or complicated or high pressure.
Okay.
And then I want you to tell me how confident you would be in your ability to accomplish them.
Okay.
We're going to use a 1 to 5 scale.
Okay.
So 1 is like, absolutely not. I will absolutely fail. I have no confidence in this area. Right?
Okay.
5 is like, I am basically certain that I can pull this off.
Yeah.
Okay. So these 3 tasks are, the first one making a game-saving catch in the outfield at a softball game. Okay.
5.
Wow. Don't hold back now.
I'm serious. I've played almost a decade of sports, and 9 of those being baseball.
Okay, hang on to that thought right there, what you were just saying
Actually, I
about.
played more sports than that. Anyways.
Okay, so just hang on to that for a second. Second task, writing a 10-page paper the night before it's due.
Okay. You want me to answer now or after?
Yeah,
Okay.
just give me your numbers first.
Solid 2.
A 2?
Yeah.
Cool.
Wait,
I
you
like
said
it.
10 page?
Yeah.
1. Maybe 0. Is 0 on the scale? Because it definitely should be.
No. Okay, we'll put that at a 1. And the third one is correctly quoting a Bible verse at an important moment to help encourage somebody, but correctly quoting the scripture that's needed for that moment.
Oh, depending on the verse, probably like a 3.
Yeah.
I'm like right in the middle.
Cool.
And the spirit has to be moving as well.
Right, always. So mine would be kind of the reverse, right? Like I would be at a 1 for making the game-saving catch. Like it would have to be a miracle. I would catch it with my face, probably.
Sorry to interrupt. She has literally been at our softball games with our church, and a ball would be overthrown to like the first baseman or third baseman.
I've gotten hit so
And
many
she's
times.
gotten hit by rogue balls all the time. It's so funny.
I had like one
sorry, it's
whole
not funny in the moment, but afterwards it's funny.
one whole leg totally bruised for like the first 6 months of our marriage because I went to a softball game with you and like just got taken out by some other team's
Yeah.
rogue ball. It was terrible. Yeah, so I have no confidence when it comes to catching any kind of sports projectile coming at me.
I concur.
Yeah. I'm a 5 totally for writing the 10-page paper the night before.
Yeah.
Have done it, would do it again.
Yep.
Totally fine. Right? No big deal. And I'm also at about like a 3, maybe on a great day a 4.
Yeah, you're better at that than I am.
I'm better at remembering text, I think. But I'm still not always confident that I'm going to quote it absolutely correctly and like nail it in the moment, you know.
If you have me quoting it to a person that I'm doing a Bible study with or like in the moment one-on-one, my number is a 3. Yeah. Put me on the platform in front of a bunch of people, it's a -2.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
I will absolutely just like drop the ball.
Right. That's why preachers make notes, I think.
Yes.
Generally. Okay, so going back to what you were saying a minute ago when I stopped you, what determines the number that you chose for each of those things?
Experience.
Right.
What I mean by experience is, like for the baseball one or the game-saving catch, I have proven to myself time and time again that I can do that.
Right.
I have missed some, but also I know I'm willing to make the effort to dive for the catch. Like I'm not gonna I will sacrifice my body to get that catch.
Right. And could I frame it by saying that you have evidence that you can be successful there?
Yes, absolutely.
And lots of evidence over time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now the writing of a paper the night before, 10-page, I have also done and have evidence that it did not go well. I passed, but only only because of compassion, not by me earning it. So it's like I can do it. Is it going to be quality? Absolutely not.
Right.
So it's like it's experience in both areas. That one, I have proven to myself that I can do it. And also experience in the writing area that I've proven to myself that I cannot do it.
So this is what's really important. Okay, so I want to reframe confidence for people and make it really more about the evidence that you bring to your own life experiences.
Okay.
Right? So let's define confidence for us. And again, you could go read up on this, and there's 1,000 different ways that people define confidence or self-confidence. But for the purposes of our conversation, I'm going to call it surety in your ability to do something based on past performance.
Okay.
Right? So the evidence of where you are confident is a history of having performed that task well in the past.
Yeah.
Right? So I've had to write a lot of papers. I'm very comfortable writing. I've had to write a lot of papers under pressure. I know that I do well with a hard deadline. So for me, I have a high degree of confidence because I have a lot of evidence to suggest that over the course of my life, I've proven my ability to accomplish that task.
Yeah.
Right. I have never played on a sports team.
Yeah.
So I do not have evidence to suggest that I could go make the game-saving catch. And I have, like you were talking about, lots of negative evidence to suggest to myself that I would actually be quite bad at that.
Yeah.
The one time I've had to try to play, God bless our we used to go to a retreat called Camp Crystal with our youth group every year. And one year I had to be a team leader, and we were supposed to be playing this like pickup like flag football game as a team. And I was just like, guys, you should not put me out there. And they put me out there, and it was a mistake. Like just a mistake.
Like, we have to fill the spot, Megan.
Yeah, like literally just stand there. And someone threw a ball at me, and it just kind of like went to the side, and people on my team were just like, what? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I told you what you were getting here. So my level of confidence in sports is very, very low.
Yeah.
Right. And when I think about having to be put in a position to play sports,
Yeah.
like that story I just told about that experience has played over and over in my mind.
Yeah.
In the years since I've had to do it. And I'm terrified of being sort of put on the spot to have to suddenly participate in some kind of sporting activity.
Yeah.
Right. That makes me go all clammy. Right.
The best example I have to fit that one you're just talking about was the Dear Young Married Couple reading, like, swooning you in front of everyone.
Oh, you have to explain what that is, because not everyone would have heard it.
Oh my goodness. So basically, they asked for volunteers, and Megan hates it.
Wait, more framing. We were at a marriage retreat at our church.
Yes.
Dear Young Married Couple, Adam and Carissa King, were there, like, leading a retreat. It was amazing. This was a fun icebreaker activity that happened in the middle of the event.
Yeah. And I am very apt to volunteer for things just because it's fun, and Megan hates it. This is the time it bit me in the butt, because all the wives had to sit down in front of us, and the husbands got a cue card, basically having to read a Bible verse to their wives in a romantic way.
Not just any Bible verse; they were verses from the Song of Solomon.
Yes, that too.
They were the spicy ones.
Yes,
so.
And I was just panicking. They asked me, I can't remember if I went first or second, but I was trying to look down at the card, and I was reading it, and the words were not going into my head.
Yeah.
And me reading on the spot in front of people is like watching a typewriter, like, click one single letter at a time.
It's
like,
a bit of a slow motion train wreck, and I mean that very lovingly.
Oh no, you can say it unlovingly, and it would not mean anything to make a difference.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it's just I don't have a lot of practice with that, and
Right.
so whenever I heard it happening, anxiety was going through my body. So,
Sure.
like, I was getting clammy and all the other stuff, and it was a train wreck. And then Brother Jude destroyed it and did an amazing job.
Yeah, it was great. Someone else won, as he should have. No offense.
No offense taken.
Right. So we build confidence in areas where we've proven to ourselves historically that we're capable of doing something. And oftentimes we go back to those repositories of experiences unconsciously when we're encountering a novel opportunity, right? So if I walked into my job tomorrow and someone said, hey, I need you to write this thing really quickly, and it's something I've never written before, even though it's a novel situation, I have confidence in that area because I can draw back on that well of experiences that I have from the past to tell me I can do this well.
Yep.
Right. Let's take this into the dating space, because people talk about confidence and not having confidence in dating all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And for some people, that might mean that you're at an event and you're terrified to approach anybody. Those initial conversations can be really challenging, right? Or you just go and you're out socially and you're kind of hoping to meet someone, but you're just really, really nervous about your ability to connect well because you haven't done it before.
Yeah.
We talk to a lot of people who have had very little opportunity to date and engage in that kind of conversation. So that can be super intimidating because they don't always have that well of evidence to draw back on, right? You also said something a minute ago that I thought was important about the like negative reinforcing sort of evidence that you have of where you've done poorly in the past.
Yeah.
How does that type of evidence change your willingness to try those things in the future?
It feels like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. Say more about that.
like for instance, I will not take up an opportunity to do something like it, like say at the church and someone says, "Hey, can someone write up something, some sort of like glamorous description of our ministry in an email and send it to me?" I'm going to immediately go, if they ask me to do it and I cannot pass it off to someone else, I'm going to come home and ask you to do it. Because like I just don't have confidence that I'm going to like not make it look like a fifth grader wrote it. So so it's one of those things that like I will not put myself out there to do the things that I know I'm not good at.
Yeah.
Unless there is a opportunity for me to do it in a safe way and not feel like there's an opportunity for me to feel attacked as a result of it.
Yeah.
I do like expanding myself and trying to learn new things, but if there's a risk of me getting hurt in the process, and by hurt, it could be emotionally, mentally, any other way. Yeah, embarrassed or something like that.
Feel less than.
Yeah,
right.
then if I can do it in a safe way, I will try to do better at it.
Yeah.
But not if it puts me at risk.
Yeah, so I love all of that. There's a few things I want to call out from that I think are really important. So in dating, if you lack confidence, it could be because you have a lot of negative evidence built up about yourself in your mind of how people are going to perceive you in your interactions, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you've gotten feedback before that you don't come across the right way. Maybe people have been unkind in the past. Maybe it's just been awkward for you. And historically, you just find that it's always been awkward and difficult to connect with people, right?
Yeah.
So that would make it very challenging. But also, it's hard to feel socially safe in new scenarios with new people. So it feels like the risk is much higher. We've talked about this in these open social interactions. The risk can feel much higher to put yourself out there because that fear of rejection and of experiencing that pain, it feels so much more real, right?
Yeah.
Like there's much higher risk of that. So I want to talk about a few ways that people can kind of cultivate that confidence and do it in a way that feels more safe.
Okay.
And I think it's important to put this out there first. So you talked about expanding your skill sets,
Yeah.
right? You are a person, I admire this about you so much because you are always willing to learn a new skill, even if you start as a complete novice.
Yeah.
Which I have a lot of, I have a hard time doing. Like I want to already be good at the thing.
I really enjoy the thrill of being known for not doing something well and then proving other people wrong.
Yeah. Or just like mastering a new skill set.
It might be pride. I don't know.
But you add these tools to your toolkit and I think it's really amazing. And you've actually helped me in this area because you have to give yourself permission to like try something totally new. I think that in dating, we tend to see confidence as a very fixed characteristic, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So we go, oh, that person's so confident, right? Man, they're confident. They're attractive because they're confident. Their confidence makes them attractive. And we treat it sort of as if it were like set in stone. And I want people to think about confidence with a growth mindset, that it's a skill that you can develop in yourself. Like you can cultivate confidence over time, even when it comes to something like dating that you might not have much exposure to before. And you can cultivate it in a way that feels safe and approachable and, helps you put your best foot forward so that these new dating situations or social situations are much less intimidating.
Yeah. I really love this topic. I think this is going to be really good for people, but how do you think we can build confidence?
So I love a 3-step process.
Okay.
Just for the ease of memory. And this isn't necessarily like an exhaustive list of what you can do to build confidence, right? But basically I have 3 tips that I think will help cultivate confidence in this area.
What are they?
Okay. So tip number 1 is seek out the right evidence and throw out the wrong evidence. Okay. This is something I've learned by working with a counselor for several years. I have a tendency myself to fixate on moments in my past that affirm my negative beliefs about myself.
Okay.
Right? So the dumb thing that I said to someone in high school will keep me up at night. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I do
However,
remember you telling me some stuff that I'm like, why in the world is she thinking about those things?
I know it's sometimes to the point where I think it's really like unhealthy, where I'll have this like, like Megan's greatest worst hits, like just playing through my head of all the terrible things that I've said, or you know what I mean? Just experiences from my past where I felt like I was not connecting well with people.
Yeah.
Um, I will fixate on those sometimes and make myself feel like I'm very awkward and very difficult to like. And I don't think that's true.
No, it's
Like,
not.
yeah, hold on, I got an itch. Like, I think I'm actually a pretty easy person to connect with, right? And that's a skill that I've become to feel is really important to who I am.
I
And
think your job's helped you with that too.
totally, and synchrony too. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I think I have to cultivate that quick connection with people. That's very important. But if I focus on all of those places in my life where I've done that poorly, right? I can start to feel so underconfident and so awkward. And I will go into a new interaction and be quieter and be more withdrawn and probably more nervous. And as a result, say something silly and it perpetuates, right?
Yeah.
So, in order to build confidence, I need to focus on the positive data that I have. There are plenty of people that I've connected with well in the past, right? I get to talk to new people that I haven't met before every day and engage with them, and they find, those conversations meaningful and fulfilling. I've gotten good feedback from people in my life about my ability to do that. If I fixate on that data, then I can look into a novel situation with confidence,
Yeah.
right? Same thing in what we were talking about for with the sports and the writing kind of analogies. You know, I have never, if I were to suddenly decide to play a sport, right, I do not have much positive evidence of my ability to play sports. The one piece of positive evidence I have is from when you and I were dating. I don't know if you remember this. And we went to a batting cage.
Oh yeah.
And
As at Boomers
yeah.
or Fun Depot.
And you taught me how to swing a bat.
Yeah.
And I hit a ball.
Yeah.
Right. And you were like, that wasn't bad. Like, your form's not bad, which is the highest compliment you could ever give out because of your form obsession. Right.
Yeah, sure.
And it was like probably dumb luck.
Let's be honest though.
Yeah.
I mean, we were also dating.
Right. So he wasn't going to tell me if I was
yeah,
like,
yeah, you're trash.
Right. No. Confidence destroyed forever. No, but like you proved to me that I could have something fly at me and not die.
Yeah.
Which
yeah, I remember you squared the ball. It was fantastic.
Thanks, babe. Yeah. So if I were to
now
suddenly,
we're married. Now I can tell you the truth.
Yeah. So if I were to suddenly have to put myself in a position to play sports,
yeah,
it would behoove me to focus on that experience of a time where you trained me and I did something right and it worked out fine. Then to focus on all the experiences where I've played, failed to play sports well.
Yeah.
Right. So seeking out the positive evidence and letting go of the negative evidence. That isn't to say it's not part of your past.
Yeah.
But you get to choose what you fixate on.
That's actually a good point. I'm going to go back into another sports analogy. I'm sorry to all those people that hate sports.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend who grew up playing sports, and he reminded me of a concept that my coach did that I forgot he did. As a team, you run drills. When you practice, you practice, you practice, you practice, and you practice on the things that you're weak at. You practice at the things that you're strong at. And the goal is to build team building and to also build self-confidence in your ability to do those said things.
Yeah.
And you're meant to mess up in practice, but you're meant to mess up and try and try and try again.
Right.
But one thing I remember is when we did well, like say we did a double play or a triple play and we got 3 people out, we celebrated for like 5 to 10 seconds. And then our coach said, okay, you did good. Now get your head back in the game.
Right.
But also when we failed and we accidentally let, 4 runs go through, we were fumbling the ball, we overthrew something, and the batters all scored and we were getting upset at ourselves and each other, they would go, all right, you messed up. Be upset for a second and get your head back in the game. And the goal was to cheer and grieve and then reset, because you know that you are able to do the right thing.
Yeah, separating your points so that you can focus on the thing at hand and not be burdened by what came before.
Yeah, because sometimes it's easy, especially if you're just like if you're doing really, really well in a game and you're scoring and scoring and scoring and scoring, you start letting your guard down. But also, if you start failing and your team starts failing, it's really easy to just obsess at the failure.
Yeah, and we've all seen professional sports teams do this, right? Where
Yeah.
they're knocking everything out of the park up until the ninth inning, and all of a sudden the home team comes back in this crazy rally, and they're just like floored, right?
So the point is focus on the things that you know, and then what you know is I can do this.
Let's speak to the listener maybe who really has no experience talking to someone of interest, right? Because I do meet those people who have just never really interacted much with members of the opposite sex. Sometimes because they were told not to, or there weren't non-family people of other genders that were dateable in their area, right? I mean, it's something that people experience. So let's just say that you have no evidence to suggest that you could walk into a new dating arena and be successful. I think the thing to take with you then is that you don't have to look for evidence of doing dating right to build confidence here. You have to look for evidence of learning how to master a hard new thing.
Yeah.
Right? If you've gone through things in your life that are challenging, if you've had to build resiliency in a certain area, if you've had to go through challenging social situations in the past, that's the evidence you can go back to of like, this is totally novel, right? Connecting with people is really hard. This is a challenge that I don't know how to get around, but I know that I'm capable of doing hard things.
Yeah.
I know that I've been confronted by challenge in the past and I've risen to the occasion. Draw back from that experience, right? And lean on it in a spiritual sense too, right? Like you've overcome things in your life and you've been helped by, the Lord and your church community, and you have those testimonies to kind of shore you up as well. Draw from that well of past experiences, even if they don't directly relate to dating.
Yeah.
Because it'll build your confidence in your ability to go into something new and develop mastery, right? So that's the first thing, is get rid of the bad evidence and focus on the positive evidence.
Yeah.
Ready for tip number 2?
I'm ready. Tip
number 2 is develop expertise.
Okay.
And by that, what I mean is most of the time in a new social situation, whether it's, a dating one or job networking or whatever, you need to be able to talk about yourself. That can be deeply uncomfortable for some people, right?
Yeah.
Or they might have past experiences where they just haven't quite landed on the right way to talk about themselves that made everyone else feel comfortable and gave them opportunities to ask questions. So I recommend, if you're looking for a place to build confidence, develop an expertise about some area that you could discuss in conversation, right? Think about when you're in a social setting, in a church event, or you're engaging with other people online. What are the topics of conversation that come up, right? The things you do for work, your hobbies and interests, your family, your history, right? Develop expertise in something that would make for an interesting conversation with someone else.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you have to become like, if you're like, oh, I need to, people love talking about music, I need to learn everything I can about music. Doesn't mean that you have to become a composer and go get a degree in music composition, right?
Mm-mm.
But cultivate a taste in music and find some artists that you like and learn about them.
Honestly, I didn't even really know what kind of music I liked. Like I hadn't, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like we had the whole conversation about like a cappella music and stuff like that.
I was actually thinking about that when I was kind of putting thoughts together about this though, right? Because I was a musician. I'm very interested in music. I had a lot of expertise. You didn't have expertise in music in necessarily like in the creation of music, right?
No.
But you had a lot of experience and expertise in the type of music that you loved.
It took a long time for me to develop that, but yeah, I was really at the peak of that exploratory process of figuring out what kind of music I liked at that point.
Yeah, and it was really attractive to me. Like we
Yeah.
joke about how you cornered me and made me watch a bunch of pentatonics videos, but I actually was enjoying myself.
Yeah.
Because it was music that I hadn't really heard much of before.
Yeah.
And I liked how passionate you were about it, and I liked how much you knew about the musicians and how familiar you were with their body of music. And so like I found that really attractive and interesting. And there were other things that you had cultivated expertise in that were kind of like off the beaten path that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like you were this is another random thing that Steven's done in the past. Can I talk about salsa? Is that
Oh
okay?
yeah, sure. I don't care.
Steven was on a competitive salsa team, not the food, but the dance.
I mean, I could also do that too. But
Sure. In South Florida, they had like
in my high school, yeah.
Yeah, you could learn to dance salsa on a team and then go do competitions.
Yeah, I started out as extra credit for my Spanish class.
Yeah.
And it turned out I liked it a lot, and so it was very wholesome, and it was like a ballroom style type of salsa. So it wasn't like it wasn't like raunchy salsa dancing. It was very classy.
Yeah. And you talked about that, and I found that really interesting because I had studied abroad in Latin America, and I was like, interested in the music, and it just gave us something to talk about, even though you and I didn't have a lot of common interests at the time.
No, like not very many of our paths crossed.
Right.
Not many of our interests paths crossed.
Yeah, like I wasn't into the things that you were into, right?
Yeah.
So if we had to stick just in our sort of like hobbies or whatever, it would have felt very siloed.
Yeah.
Right. So cultivating expertise in something that you actually like, don't just like pick something that you think is popular, right? It's okay if it's a bit of a niche interest, like salsa, right? Or for me, it was probably like, I don't know, what was I into that you thought was cool when we were dating?
Tell me about Bible quizzing. Like it wasn't long after you'd been done Bible quizzing.
Yeah.
Your chorus team I thought was really cool.
Oh, like
when you did chorus in high school.
Yeah. All the cool stuff.
I mean, obviously, all your singing endeavors I thought was really fascinating.
Yeah.
Not from like the rock star fanboy kind of sense.
Yeah, you were never like overly impressed by it, which I appreciated, but you enjoyed talking about it.
Yeah. I really loved your ability to think deeply about topics that were not commonly talked about. And so we could just go on and on feeding off of each other's conversations, just thinking critically about a completely random topic that no one would normally be interested in.
Yeah, like I really like history. I remember we talked a lot about that in some of our early conversations. And, it doesn't have to be something that's like, it can be kind of off the beaten path, right? But develop expertise about something that you find really interesting and that you think other people might be interested in as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Also the hunting and stuff that you did. I didn't pin you as a hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not. I grew up in a family of devoted carnivores. But my grandfather and my father,
which our daughter is having an existential crisis about right now.
Yeah, we had that conversation about hunters being bad tonight, and I was like, "Mommy used to hunt," and she's like, "Yeah." I grew up in a family where my grandfather and my dad they're hunters and outdoorsmen, right, and have been my whole life. And I developed a real love for being out in the woods with them when I was a teenager. Yeah, so I was really into. I wouldn't say I was really into hunting, but I knew a decent amount about it and I enjoyed it. And it was something that I did with my family that was really special to me. And I guess not a typical girly interest.
Well, I mean, I was, you remember I'm from South Florida where we didn't have a lot of hunting potential, right? And so I wasn't used to seeing that in my general area. So it was a really cool concept. And my dad was really into fishing and hunting. And so it was something that caught my attention.
Yeah. So it's, you can be into stuff that not everyone around you is into, right? And that uniqueness and that unique expertise that you cultivate can really make you charismatic and attractive to other people. If you have something that you love, that you want to talk about, that you can engage with, that's great. This doesn't mean that you walk up to someone and the first thing you say to them is like, hi, I'm into Star Trek and I would like to tell you everything about my favorite iteration of Star Trek, right? Which, if I could just do that when connecting with people, would be great, because I do love Star Trek and I would love to just corner people and talk about why the specific, iterations of Star Trek are my favorite.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's a bad idea because it would be overwhelming. So this isn't something that you want to like charge in and use like a battering ram in your conversations, but it gives you a place of comfort to fall back into as you're talking to people.
Yeah.
A space that's familiar to you, where you already know that you know a lot about something, right? Okay, so those are our first two tips. So we've got find the good evidence,
Mm-hmm.
right? We've got develop expertise.
Yep.
So the third tip is just to practice.
Okay.
You know, we already talked about how you want to go back to the good evidence that you have from your past experiences.
Yeah.
But you also want to be cultivating new evidence to suggest that you are good at this thing, right?
Yeah.
And by this thing, I mean like dating interactions. But you don't have to practice those skills just in a dating setting.
And how would you practice them?
I love it when it seems like we have like, like a teleprompter, but we don't actually. Just like talking off the top of your head. So we talked a little bit about this in previous episodes, how a lot of the skills that you're using when you're creating a dating interaction with someone are just skills of making conversations and connecting with people.
Yeah.
Right. There are a gajillion different ways that you can practice that are going to also be really beneficial to your church too.
Yeah.
So just throwing out a few ideas, you could volunteer as a greeter if your church has a greeting team that's responsible for welcoming people in, or ushers that, get people into the church every Sunday. That's a great place to build that kind of confidence.
Especially if you're not confident in just general social interactions.
Right.
Like, I know this is going to sound terrible, but putting yourself in uncomfortable situations more often will make it less likely that you'll be uncomfortable when you're meeting someone that you like.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the opportunity every Sunday to say, hey, how you doing? Good to meet you 50 times, right?
Yeah.
After a few months of that, you've introduced yourself to hundreds of people potentially.
Yeah.
It just lowers the bar of doing that the next time you're at a conference and you see someone that you think is really attractive.
Yep.
So that's a great opportunity to do that. Teaching, where you're speaking to a classroom, are great opportunities.
Outreach.
Outreach is huge. Yeah, that one's really good.
And then I know some people's hands just got clammy thinking about it, but especially those that are like have social anxiety. But again, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, and maybe not even being the one that's leading the outreach, but watching people who are good at what they do.
Yeah.
Right? Like learning tips on how to have small talk sometimes and how to get out of uncomfortable situations, like all of those things you can pick up from other people who are good at talking. So why not just put yourself in those situations just to observe it?
Yeah. So there's tons of places where in the church you can be serving and doing these things and cultivating those skills.
Yeah.
You can also cultivate them in the wild world, right? Where, like for me, I think a lot of my ability to connect with people quickly came from volunteering as a tour guide at my college campus.
Yeah.
Right. So for like 4 years, I was a college ambassador, and that meant I would be taking families around on tours of the campus before their student started coming to school there. And my job was to very quickly like connect with them and figure out what they were interested in and take them to the places that were going to be interesting to them. And that built so many skills of just like starting up conversations. So that was valuable. You might be in a job where maybe you've kind of not participated in some of the more visible aspects of the work, but you could volunteer to be a representative to a meeting or to be more involved in something like that. Finding opportunities to cultivate those soft skills. It's going to make you a better soul winner.
Yep.
Potentially a better employee, better at dating too.
Yep.
Like all of those are all the same muscles, right?
Yeah.
And there's other places where you can connect on an emotional level with people.
Okay.
So I think this is especially important for guys, right? Because guys in our society are really taught to not practice the you know being vulnerable with their emotions,
Yeah.
right? Find places where you can start to share really deep and meaningful parts of yourself with people.
You know how I said a couple minutes ago that I wouldn't do something new if I knew I was at risk of getting hurt?
Mm-hmm.
A really good place to practice what you're talking about right now, emotional vulnerability,
Yeah.
worked really well for me, was having an accountability partner.
Yeah.
Someone that I trusted, that I could say whatever, whenever, and I knew I wasn't going to be judged. Like having that friend help me practice my emotional vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And not to make it weird, but in a lot of ways, having that accountability partner is a lot of the ways that you also talk to your wife.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, sorry, Brad, but
Mm-hmm.
like my friend Brad was my accountability partner, and we were very emotionally vulnerable with each other.
Yeah. Because you have to be able to say, like, I'm struggling with this, or,
Yeah.
I'm feeling this.
And
And
those are similar skills that are very
Mhm.
useful in relationships.
Absolutely. And you want to give yourself an opportunity to describe your emotions to people, right?
Yeah.
To put names on what you're feeling.
Yep.
Um, Women get a lot of training doing this.
Oh yeah.
Like we tend to be more um, conditioned to exercise those social skills of like analyzing our emotions and then like talking about how we feel, right?
Yeah.
Men aren't given that same training, and
Yeah.
so
Not as much.
not as much, depending on the situation. So I actually think our guys in church have an edge here because,
Yeah.
in church and in services, we talk about our emotions, and our ministry are really gifted in explaining sort of the human experience through sermons. And I think that's given us some tools, right?
Oh yeah.
But it's different in a relationship where you have to be able to look at the person and say, this is how I feel about you.
Yep.
This is how you make me feel. That can be really intimidating for people. Having those direct conversations about your emotions with someone that you trust is really important. So if you have close friends and you guys are never talking about the serious stuff, right? They're your buddies or they're your tribe, but like you never really get too deep into how you feel.
Yeah.
You need to find one of those relationships and take it deeper.
Yep.
And that might be a very direct conversation of, hey, I'm working on understanding my emotions. And I know this is a little awkward, but I need to be able to talk about some feelings with someone, and I trust you.
Yeah.
And I know that you have my back, and I just want to go get coffee and just like sort of talk through what's going on in my world if you're willing to listen.
Yeah.
And if they're truly someone that considers you a friend, like I'd be honored if a friend came to me and asked me that.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
It just means like for that friend,
Mhm.
it means that you feel like you're a trustworthy person.
Yeah, they're putting their confidence,
Yeah.
their trust and confidence in you and your ability to hear them and provide counsel.
And I'm going to not say any names, but there's someone that you know
Mm-hmm.
who kind of provided that ministry for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't necessarily your best friend. It
Right.
was someone who you respected, who was a mentor
Mm-hmm.
that you didn't hang out with on a regular basis, but they were willing to go get coffee with you and have really serious, deep conversations with you that you needed to have from an unbiased perspective.
Yeah.
And there might be someone that's not your best friend, and maybe your best friend's not the best option.
Yeah.
Try to find someone in the church that has, is reputable and is, willing to, I don't want to say hold your secrets, but you know what I mean? But like not willing to
Right.
gossip about what you're going through. And those could be really valuable relationships.
Huge. Yeah. I think that we don't put enough of an emphasis sometimes on the need to connect with each other in the body.
Yeah.
Right. And again, like with the conversations we're talking about are in no way romantic. They don't
No,
have to
no.
be about your dating or relationship goals at all. But it gives you an opportunity to practice those same skills, right?
Yeah. It's a 100% just practicing.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about something real quick before we end. What happens if you're practicing and you fail?
Yeah. Well, we have a whole episode about rejection that
We do.
you should check out for sure.
But in short.
Right. One experience of failure or of not making a connection is not evidence that you will not be able to do it with the next person.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Every person you interact with is bringing a different set of goals and needs and interests and their own challenges with social connection into a space.
And that person has a right to say no.
They have a right to say no. They also might not be comfortable connecting with you in the way that you're trying to, right? And
that's true.
That might just be how they're built and what their context is. I think it's really important for you to know that it's sort of like what you were talking about with separating your points, right?
Yep.
Like each interaction with someone new is a new opportunity.
Yep.
It's a complete reset. The experiences you've had with people in the past have no bearing on how this person, this new human, is going to respond to you now.
Yeah.
So you have to give them the grace to not be burdened by what prior people have said and done to you.
Yeah.
Right? You can't put that on them.
Mm-mm.
They're coming into this interaction with a clean slate. And you should be able to talk to them and really just see it as, hey, here's a fresh opportunity for me to connect with someone. We'll give it our best shot. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. The next opportunity will be a new chance.
Yep.
And we know, like, I want to say, like, we're simplifying this very difficult thing into a set of quick tips.
Yeah.
And you and I both know that, like, building confidence takes time.
Yeah, absolutely does.
Right. This is something that you have to practice for it to change. Listening to this podcast and jotting these tips on a sticky note is not going to automatically shift how you feel about yourself when you're going into a new dating situation. And that's okay.
Yeah. I'm extremely confident that I can make that catch.
Yeah.
But it took me over a decade of practice to get to that point.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's going to take you that long to find your significant other, but give yourself grace.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay. Like, and I think honestly, if this can be endearing and make people feel safe. If you're interacting with someone and you're just really nervous, it's okay to say that.
Yeah.
It's okay to be like, hey, look, I'm not very confident talking to new people. I'm really enjoying chatting with you.
And sometimes that vulnerability, it can be attractive.
Yeah, really attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people don't want to guess how you're feeling, right? And people can interpret it as like, oh, they must not really like me. And if you're saying like, hey, this is just really difficult for me, but I'm really enjoying getting to know you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
totally attractive.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, go ahead.
There's a level of transparency that's not attractive too. I just want to say,
I don't want to immediately overshare. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous talking to you. I'm so gassy. Like, keep that to yourself.
I was about to use that example. I'm sorry to all you getting to know me way too well.
You gotta quit apologizing every time you tell a story.
Well, this is kind of embarrassing and kind of could be gross to people. But for the first couple dates, and by couple, I mean a lot of dates, being in close proximity to you, because we were long distance, I would get so excited to be with you that I would get extremely bubbly in my stomach. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And I would be excited, so I'd get gassy, but because I got gassy, it made me nervous, which made me nervous, made me more gassy. It was a terrible experience.
Yeah.
The gassy part, not being with you part.
Yeah,
so,
I get it.
like, it was...
you have to tell the story.
Which one?
So this is like... I think this was my first time coming down to visit you since we had, like, officially started dating.
Okay.
And we went for a walk through your mom's neighborhood. Because she had this beautiful neighborhood with a lot of, like, pretty, like, bridges.
Yeah, bridges and stuff, yeah.
And we were walking, and I think you just, like, lost control for, like, a second.
Oh, my gosh.
And, like, a little fart slipped out.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah.
And you just crumbled.
All
like,
confidence gone.
Oh, my word. You just deflated in front of me. Like,
literally.
You just looked so defeated. And I was, like, dying laughing Because I was nervous about being around
sure.
you, whatever. It was so funny. I'm not telling you to go fart on people. It was just funny at the time,
No.
and I like it. It was fine. We moved past it,
Yeah.
but it was hilarious.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is, saying that you're nervous to talk to someone is fine, but saying, "Hey, you make me really gassy," is probably not a good idea either.
Yeah, it's a weird tangent for us to go down, but solid advice.
I figured it'd make someone else feel comfortable
Yeah.
when they get gassy around their significant other.
Yeah, that's a thing, y'all. It's wild.
Anyways.
Okay. So, moving away from that. Whew, building confidence. We hope you're taking some tips from this that'll help you kind of just rethink what confidence means to you. And this is a skill that we think everyone should be thinking about and working toward building. Confidence is so attractive, right? I think that, physical attractiveness and confidence go hand in hand. You could have a person who's very conventionally attractive, but who lacks self-confidence. And that does, I think, alter how people perceive them. And
vice versa.
Yeah, you could have someone who's not very conventionally attractive, but just exudes an amazing amount of confidence.
Yeah.
And people around them feel comfortable and safe with them and excited to talk to them. So cultivate this skill. If you have specific questions about how to build this in certain areas, we'd love to chat with you about it.
Yeah. DM us, email us, let us know.
Yeah.
We'll be happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah. I don't think we have any announcements happening right now.
Nope.
We're just working on getting through some matches that we have. We've met some new people lately, and we're getting them involved in the pipeline.
And making life changes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to settle into a new normal soon.
Yep.
I'm excited about it.
Yep.
Hey, babe.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you.
Even though you farted on me in our first.
I didn't fart on you. But.
Close enough.
Yeah. I love you too.
This was a fun one.
It was.
Okay.
Well, thank you for listening, y'all.
Bye, everyone. Have a good week.
See you later.